finish, you might wish the hell I'd never been up here.
One, and in comes the two to the three, and
Listen to the words that the warriors speaking.
Hey guys, welcome to the DraftDaily.com fantasy show with Jason and Chris.
Hey guys.
Today we are going to go over wide receivers. We already went over quarterbacks and running backs for season long in daily fantasy sports. You can check that out on our YouTube channel. Everything you need will be in the descriptions tab. And let's get fired away. What do you think, man?
Ready to go. Let's do it.
All right, I guess we'll start with season long. Wide
Yes.
receivers. Okay.
So for season long wide receivers, the strategy, a lot of people have gone with this, what they call this zero RB strategy the last few years, especially in PPR leagues. This year, though, I've actually seen that not talked about as much. I don't think it's worked out all that well the last couple seasons, and a lot of the industry guys and the touts and everybody are starting to get away from that strategy. I never really liked that strategy. I did not go with that in any of my season long or my best ball drafts this year. I don't think wide receiver is a highly variant position, which basically means that there's less opportunity for wide receivers to get the ball into their hands. You know, unless they're running some kind of gimmick type of end around play or something like that, they're not getting handoffs. So you're relying on the quarterback to be throwing them the ball, and there's a lot of things that can happen. You know, quarterback can get pressured, quarterback can be having a bad day. It can be really windy. So it's one of those things where if you do, you know, pick a wide receiver in the first and second rounds of your draft, you're taking a more risk than somebody who's picking running backs. And it's something that I think is, you know, if you do go zero RB, you are definitely setting yourself up for a lot more risk throughout the whole season, because those first and second picks in any draft are highly valuable. And if you take Julio Jones and he ends up having another season like he did last year, your team's going to be in a lot of trouble. So that's my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts?
After the fantasy drafts that I've already been in, I kind of think if you were going to do zero running backs or attempt to do something like it, this year would probably be the year to do it. I watched an array of starting running backs. A lot of them not even get drafted. And then I watched an array of running backs like Latavius Murray, who are going to get some points every game, not get any love. I watched Tampa Bay's running back not get any love. Washington's running backs Peterson moved up, but I mean, there was some running backs like Carlos Hyde. He wasn't shown any love. I mean, I don't know. I look at the I look at if you could draft, obviously you can get Antonio Brown with your first pick. I would assume, I guess if your pick's like under 10, you're going to get Antonio Brown. I mean, because he ain't going to last much longer than that.
Yeah, absolutely not.
You could start with Antonio Brown, and then I think it matters your position in the draft. The first pick, you're not taking Antonio Brown.
No, and it matters if it's PPR or not as well.
Yes, but I think if you have an end of the draft pick, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 8, 9, 10, whatever, I think that strategy could be played because you could swing Antonio Brown. Honestly, you could probably get Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins coming back, and then you could smack Odell Beckham or T.Y. Hilton. I think you could get 3 of the top 10 with your first 3 picks if you did it, because all the running backs are going to go the first round, second round. I really think you could. Like I could have, but I would have had like Carlos Hyde and a crapshoot at running back.
Yeah, speaking of Adrian Peterson, I can't believe Adrian Peterson is a thing again. I was talking to one of my one of my DFS friends the other day, and we're like, we can't believe that Adrian Peterson and Marshawn Lynch are a thing again. And Adrian Peterson is his ADP is quickly moving up with the events of the last couple of preseason weeks. So I don't know. We're going to see how this goes. I'm really interested to see.
I don't do it, but if I wanted to try it, I think this would be the year to do it because I can tell you right now, I could definitely get Carlos Hyde and Marshawn Lynch easily.
Yeah.
And and Balil Powell. I mean, that's just starting running backs that I'm just throwing out there that I know I could do it with.
Yeah. Heck, Lamar Miller's going pretty late, and they've already straight up said he's gonna be the lead back. He's gonna be a 3-down back this year. So he's gonna get the touches, and that's what always makes me nervous about receivers is the volume. Volume is king in season long and daily. And if you can get a guy that's going to touch the ball 30 times a game compared to a guy that's going to touch the ball, 5 to 7 times a game, you almost always want the guy who's going to get 30 touches. He has more chances to score. So, but I do see what you're saying, where if you're picking later in the first round when all the top tier running backs are gone, you can go in that 10th and 11th, that take the turn and take wide receiver at 10 and 11. And really set yourself up with some decent players.
Yeah, you're guaranteed Brown, Jones, or Hopkins. There's no way all three of them will be gone. There's no possible way.
Yeah,
by your come around. If it's a snake draft, you go up and come back. So trust me, everybody's running on running backs this year. And, that's 4 picks. So if you take Antonio Brown, you literally out of 4, there's 4 picks till it comes back to you or whatever. They're going to be taking, you've got more than 10 running backs that are worthy of taking, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, if I was going to do it, but I don't do that stuff because you know how I feel about wide receivers. There's only one consistent wide receiver in my eyes, and it's Antonio Brown. I've had all the rest of these guys, and they shit.
You really hate Julio, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I think Julio comes back in a big way this year. That's one of my bold predictions. I don't know if it's really bold, but that's one of my big predictions this year. Is I'm actually banking on him. I've got him in quite a few drafts already. I don't think he only had 3 touchdowns last year. There's no way. The chances of him scoring 3 or less again this year are slim to none. There has to be some positive progression there. There just has to be.
Well, he's going to have a problem week 1, right?
They're playing the Eagles week 1. So we'll see. The Eagles have not looked too sharp the preseason. Super Bowl hangover. It looks like it's caught them hard. We'll see how it goes here.
Yeah, I'm not believing Nick Foles is that bad of a quarterback. Okay.
Man, he sure did look like it against the Browns, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, so out of the top 5, I'm not sold on DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know. I just don't know. He scares me.
My thought, that whole offense is due for some regression. Hopkins, Fuller, and Watson. It's just unsustainable of a level that they played last year before Watson got hurt. And I think that's a place you can exploit some of these drafts because these guys are going really high. Even Watson's getting drafted way above where I think he should be. And I think that, by avoiding those guys, you can kind of, be a little bit contrarian even in your season long leagues where everyone's playing those guys and just kind of avoid them. I've avoided them up to this point.
Well, full disclosure for everybody to know, I avoided wide receivers completely. And there's only one wide receiver I took, and I tried to get him in everything, and that was Tyreek Hill. Now, it may sound crazy, but I took all running backs the first 3 or 4 picks. And I wound up with, listen to the wide receivers that I wound up with. I wound up with Amari Cooper, okay, who lasted that long. Jarvis Landry, who lasted that long. Tyreek Hill was I knew to get him. As soon as I was done my starting running backs, I grabbed Tyreek Hill and everything. So Tyreek Hill literally was my 4th pick in every fantasy league. I filled the running backs up, and then I grabbed Tyreek Hill.
I like that strategy.
Yeah, and you're talking about Brandon Cooks was sitting there. I didn't take him, but these are some of the players that are sitting there. Landry, Goodwin, Tate, Sammy Watkins, Marvin Jones, Baldwin, Amari Cooper. Even Larry Fitzgerald was sitting there. Josh Gordon was sitting there. I know everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I took a flyer at my last pick with Des Bryant. Michael Crabtree was sitting there. I mean, you're telling me there's a problem with Sterling Shepard. I mean, there's no Devontae Parker, Cameron Meredith. All these guys were there, man, and Kelvin Benjamin. And even your boy Sammy Watkins was sitting there. So I could have had my choice. I had my choice between any of them guys. So I have to start 2 wide receivers, and I just told everybody I grabbed Tyreek Hill, and then I just chose from. I mean, if I didn't get Amari Cooper because that would have been my first choice, that's fine. I'll get Larry Fitzgerald. If I didn't get him, that's fine. I'll get Jarvis Landry or Sammy Watkins or Golden Tate or so that's the direction that I went, and I love it because I have 2 running backs, and I had 3 running backs, 2 starting and 1 flex, and I love it.
Nice.
And that I love it. I love having that. So that's where I am there. So that's what I want to let everybody know. There's nobody on this top list that slid. All these guys went the first couple 2-3 rounds. All the way down to Josh Gordon's one that didn't, and Marvin Jones. Demaryius Thomas went way ahead of them guys. So, Brandon Cooks was out there. I mean, there was a lot of guys out there. So that's the strategy I take in season long. Being Antonio Brown is literally the only one. If I was going to pick an early pick, if I had the 12th pick, that might have been a choice for me to take Antonio Brown, but only because the running backs I wanted or targeted were gone already. That would be the only way I would pick Antonio Brown, which actually would have happened in one of my drafts if I had the 8th pick. But if I would have had the 12th pick, I would have probably took Antonio Brown, and Gronk. Dude, Gronkowski lasted 2 rounds. I could have picked him 3rd.
Yeah, he goes early. It's Gronk. What are you going to say?
Yeah, but other than that, that's pretty much where I'm at. You know how I feel about wide receivers. I don't like them, dude. I mean, here I'll name the top 5 wide receivers the last 2 years: Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, AJ Green, T.Y. Hilton, Odell Beckham, Keenan Allen. Every one of them shit the bed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and some of them, 3 of them did it in one season. Like last year. AJ Green was dirt. Julio Jones was dirt. I mean,
OBJ wasn't that good.
That's so I'm going to turn the wide receivers over to you, man, because that's how I feel about them. I'm not for them. I'm against them. I'm ready to get my Tyreek Hill on, my Josh Gordon, my Amari Cooper, my freaking Fitzgerald. I'm ready to get them guys on. They're down here buried. Brandon Cooks, even Marquise Goodwin and Golden Tate and Sammy Watkins and Jarvis Landry, Juice. I love Juice. I mean, that's where I'm sitting. So Michael Crabtree, Kelvin Benjamin, Sterling Shepard. I like them guys. So that's where I'm aiming. So I'll let you pretty much I'll turn this over to you.
So before I get into picks, I wanted to talk a little bit about daily strategy. I take a little bit different approach to picking wide receivers in daily. Wide receivers to me are, because of the high variance of the position, there's weeks where even the best wide receivers are only going to have 5 catches for 50 yards and they're going to have weird stat lines. I like to go very contrarian on wide receivers. I like to see who I think the field's going to play and either be way under what I think the field's going to be or fade the guys. Like week 1 is a good example of this. We were talking about this off the air. I really like Odell Beckham because I think not that I think the Jaguars defense is bad. I think their pass defense especially is very good. if not maybe the best in the league. But I think that no one's going to be playing OBJ. So at a high variance position, and nobody's going to play him, and he's a great player, it's almost an automatic play for me, and there's a chance that he gets shut down, and I'm going to lose a bunch of money. But on the chance that he blows up and only 10% of the field has it, I'm going to be walking away a happy man. So it's one of those things where you got to gauge your risk, but at the same time, it's so variant. It's you're good. You're almost better off almost always looking to go contrarian at wide receiver. At least that's the way I've always done it. It's worked well for me so far. So that's there, and then there's other things like there's certain wide receivers who it really doesn't matter what cornerbacks they're playing against. They're going to produce no matter what. Like Beckham and Antonio Brown are two good examples where you put them up even from the best to the worst cornerbacks in the league, they're going to produce similar stat lines. But then you've got other guys like Stephon Diggs who, you put him against the best cornerbacks in the league, they're going to straight shut him down. And you put him against one of the shittiest cornerbacks in the league, and he's gonna succeed. So it's one of those things you got to kind of see what the field's doing, get a good feel for the matchups, and try to target guys that you don't think anyone's gonna own. So that's my thoughts on Daly. You want to move into some of the guys we like and dislike?
Yeah, on Daly.
Either or, season long or daily.
Well, season long, I just basically gave you my recipe. If it's
Wait.
If I'm 11 or 12, I'm going Antonio Brown. Otherwise, in season long, I'm drafting running backs, first and second and probably third. I'll take the undercut guys. I'll take the guys that that nobody's coveted. I'll take this second, third tier guys that are going to be there for me, and that's how. I don't see nothing wrong with having Amari Cooper and Jarvis Landry. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather have LeGarrette Blount, Kareem Hunt, and even Alex Collins, who goes late in most drafts. I'd rather have them three and Jarvis Landry and Golden Tate in PPR. Think about what I just said: Jarvis Landry and Golden Tate. You could literally have Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette. Well, no, actually, you couldn't. You could have Melvin Gordon or Fournette. Then you could probably come back with. I don't know what's going on in Denver, but if this Freeman kid's really this good, you could really have a ball with fantasy football this year. With drafting. I've been in 4 or 5 drafts right now, and I'll tell you, my drafts aren't filled with guys who don't know what they're doing. So, for instance, this team here is built with guys who know what they're doing. These are seasoned veterans. I took Melvin Gordon with my first pick. I took Christian McCaffrey second pick, okay? And then I grabbed, Tom Brady with my third pick. And then I started filling out my wide receivers. So I got Funchess and Crabtree. I got Jimmy Graham at tight end. And then I waited a while. I took Carlos Hyde. Then I got Josh Gordon, Devontae Parker. Look, would you be mad starting a healthy Devontae Parker and Josh Gordon?
Not if they're both playing.
So you're talking Tom Brady, Melvin Gordon, Christian McCaffrey, and Carlos Hyde in my flex. And I have Funchess and Crabtree in there right now. But I literally can have Parker and Gordon in there whenever when they're healthy.
That makes sense.
That's like the approach that I went after. But you see what I have here. I've got Melvin Gordon, McCaffrey, and Tom Brady. That's in all of my leagues. That's like the direction that I went. And that's the direction I love. I love every team I have this year. And, I just told you, well, look at this draft. I have Fournette as my first pick again. McCaffrey was my second pick. Okay. Brady was my third pick again. And my wide receivers in this league are literally McCaffrey and Jarvis Landry. I mean, Golden Tate and Jarvis Landry. And I have Alex Collins in my flex. And not only that, I have freaking Julian Edelman on my bench, Devin Funches, and Cameron Meredith. Bro, my starting lineup is Brady, Fournette, McCaffrey, Landry, Tate, Delaney Walker. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that starting lineup. That's a legitimate starting lineup.
No,
So
I like
that's-
this team.
Yeah, I just think you guys can wait for wide receivers in season long, and you know, while everybody's sitting there with crappy running backs because they waited so long, you know, you're already set and you don't have to worry about it, and you should be smart enough to pick the wide receivers that you know are because there's two things we know, whether it's PPR or not. We know Jarvis Juice is going to catch balls, and we know Tate's going to catch balls, period. So
Yeah, they're high volume. They're both two of the highest volume receivers in the league.
yeah, and they may not turn in touchdowns, but guess what, guys? Julio Jones only had 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns last year.
And that's it. You can't. It's so hard to predict touchdowns that you never know. You know, Sanu could go for 3 touchdowns in one game, and Julio doesn't have one for 4 weeks. You never know. So with the running backs, you get a little bit more of that safety and security and that guarantee. And then as you in PPR especially, you get somebody like Christian McCaffrey, who they've already said is going to get almost all the snaps at running back this year, and Cam's going to be throwing it to him too. They're gonna scheme plays specifically to involve him in the passing game. So because their pass catching core isn't all that great. Actually, one of my sleepers I had on my list here is Curtis Samuel, who is one of Carolina's. I think he's their number 3 receiver right now. He's a good late round pick, I think. I will be playing him some in daily too. I think he's one of those guys that could kind of catch everyone off guard. No one's thinking about him, and all of a sudden he goes off for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, McCaffrey, the only thing I don't like is he's not multi-positional anymore, and that's bull crap. He should be multi-positional.
I wonder if they're going to get away from that this year.
Well, he doesn't qualify at wide receiver in anything I'm in.
No.
And that sucks because he should. He should qualify at both positions. And, you know, I mentioned Tyreek Hill, and I'm telling you now, I'm grabbing one of them 2 players in every draft with my 3rd pick. It's either Tyreek Hill or McCaffrey because both of them are going to do the same thing this year. Even if Hill gets shut down catching the ball, trust me, he'll be coming out of the backfield with it.
Well, he's a guy I'm going to looking to exploit. He's a guy that everyone's going to play, and this is another one of my like more contrarian plays. I'm going to play a whole bunch of Sammy Watkins. And the reason being is I think teams are going to spend a considerable amount of time game planning to stop Tyreek Hill. And we already saw this in the preseason a few times where there's been 3 defenders on Tyreek Hill, and here's Sammy Watkins running down the side of the field with, you know, 1 cornerback that he's got to beat, and he's in for the touchdown. So I think they'll use Tyreek Hill as a decoy a lot. And with Mahomes having a missile arm and Sammy Watkins being a deep threat, I just feel like the whole puzzle just kind of fits together for that stack as a kind of contrarian play in daily. I'm going to probably do that a lot this year.
Yeah, now, you know I love the Ravens and the Patriots, right?
Obviously. Your hat.
I don't agree with Chris Hogan, man. I think, you know, you always talk about regression. Dude, he's my top regression candidate. Chris Hogan is my top regression candidate.
He's looked really good in the preseason.
Yeah, I'm based that off of the end of last year.
I'm thinking about who is Brady going to throw it to, because you know Brady's going to throw the ball.
Edelman week 4 and Gronkowski.
Right, but I'm talking about the first 3, 4 weeks, because it's, you know, you're already a quarter of the way through the season at that
James
point.
White.
He will get some, and Gronk will get some, but I don't know, man. Edelman's in the doghouse right now. Belichick doesn't.
You still got Danny Amendola.
No, that he's on I forget who he went to. He is on a different team now though. Oh, he's on the Finns.
Well, guess what? I'm sure they got somebody sitting there. I mean, we'll be talking about somebody. We don't know who it is yet, just like the running back. We don't know who the hell's running the ball or who's going to shine, but we'll be talking about one of them, I guarantee it. And some goofy cat will have, like Mike Gillisley, will have like 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. And everybody be like, what the heck? You know what I mean? That's what always happens. Look at Rex Burkhead, dude.
Whatever you think's going to happen in New England, the opposite's going to happen.
That's where I am the season long. You want to talk about Daly?
I did a little bit already. Like I said, I really like a couple of the like I said, week 1, I really like OBJ because just because I don't think anyone's going to own him. And I think the Jags D. I don't know if the Jags D can keep up with what they did last year. They do have some really good players, but at the same time, it's hard to keep that level of lockdown consistently happening. So a couple of guys who I kind of early on targeted as avoids, and we just actually talked about one of them is Doug Baldwin. I'm going to be avoiding him in probably daily and season long. They just finally said today that he admitted that he needs surgery on his knee, and he's going to play through it this year with managing the pain. So, yeah, that's a guy who needs to get down the field so Russell Wilson can throw him deep balls with a knee injury all season. That's just a recipe for disaster.
And it's funny, you kind of saw it at the end of last year.
You really did. He didn't, he was starting to regress last year a little bit, and that's another good thing. Like for Daly, if you think Doug Baldwin's going to get a lot of love from the field in any given week, play Tyler Lockett. We all know Tyler Lockett's not a great player, but
who the hell's the tight end for Seattle?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't even know.
That's probably a sneaky play.
Is it? It's not Jimmy Graham anymore, is it?
No, it's not Jimmy Graham.
Nick Vanette.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's right.
His value just went up a lot.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers never throws to the tight end. He just never does.
Never had one to throw to.
He did. He had Jermichael Finley, who was.
Oh my God!
He was good, man. He was good. He just never got the ball.
Dude, he sucks. Michael Finley. You call that a tight end? I call that a blocker.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they'll switch off. Maybe. Well, what's Green Bay's receiving core? Cobb and Adams. I mean, I don't know. That was actually another guy I originally had written down Jordy Nelson as an avoid for this year, but I've seen him fall so far down the list in his average draft position that I've actually had to take him in a couple leagues because it was like he was way, way past the point that he should have been drafted in. And especially in the PPR leagues for a guy like that, who they're probably going to try to get the ball in his hands on a lot of short routes and shorter type of passes, giving him more opportunities. I couldn't pass it up, even though I did have him as my avoid. I kind of turned suit on that one just because of how much of a value he's become. And he's another one in daily that I don't know if I'm going to play him in week 1. I kind of want to see how many targets he gets and kind of how that offense goes. But I'm definitely keeping an eye on Jordy Nelson.
Watch Nick Vanette have like 20.9 points the first week. Nick Vanette, the Seattle.
Nick Vanette. I'm going to actually write him on my list because, I mean, you're right.
I don't know how much he is, but I can guarantee he's
probably min. He's probably his min salary. You're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you talk about a sneaky play, man. In Denver, their defense is really good, but I'm almost positive the middle of the field's their weakness. So, and Ed Dixon's out. So,
maybe you're right, man. That might be a good call there. At the tight end is another one of those positions. Actually, tight end is more variant than receiver. But because it's not really a core position and you're only playing one guys, I don't stress my focus as much on that. But we were talking off the air. There were a few times last year where players that won like the main GPP contest on some of the DFS sites, it was because they played some tight end that nobody else played. And it who was it last year? One of the guys had 3 touchdowns, like Kittles or somebody like that.
Well, 2 years ago, New Orleans and Atlanta, both tight ends went nuts. Both tight ends went completely nuts. New Orleans, Atlanta, 2 years ago.
Yeah. I remember that.
I think it was like I think it was early in the season, but So Ed Dixon has got a groin and a quad injury, which all sounds to me like a no for week 1. So it's a sneaky play, man.
That's interesting. I like that call. I do. I like that a lot.
That's the diamonds that you got to look for. You know, Chris, I was talking about that tight end game. Was that 2017 or 16?
I think it was 16.
I could tell because I know I watched it, and it was the Falcons and the Saints, and the score was retarded. So I'm going to locate it. You got some more stuff while I look for it?
Yeah. I think one guy that's getting overlooked a lot, who is a major end zone threat and is going to actually have a bigger role in the offense this year, is Mike Williams. Again, he's one of those guys that not a lot of people like, and that I will be probably all over him because no one else likes him. Let me give you some of my kind of deeper sleeper plays, and these can go for both at the end of your draft in season long as well as potentially good daily plays. Tywan Taylor is one of them, with Mariota having a new OC and a new head coach, both of which who like to pass. It's something they've never had there in Tennessee before, and I think that he could end up chucking it this year. I really could see that happening. It's one of those things that, again, it's risky, but it could really pay off because it's going to be one of those things that no one else is going to be on it. One of the other guys I like a lot as a really deep play is John Ross. He did not have a good year last year. I actually had picked him up like in the last round of a bunch of my drafts. But he's looked really good this preseason. He's got a lot of speed. He's another one with AJ Green being their primary threat on offense there. He's going to get a lot of the attention, leaving the rest of the field open for these secondary guys to kind of gobble up some of the receptions. So he's another one I'm going to be looking at for daily, and I'm going to probably try to be over the field on some of these guys. And these are guys like, if you're playing 10 daily lineups, you want to put them in 1 or 2 of them, or if you're playing more, you want to have like under 10%, because the field's going to have like 2%. So as long as you're double the field or even a little bit more than that, you put yourself in a good position if one of them goes off. Now the chances of them going off are slim, so there's always a chance you're going to draw dead on those lineups too. But it's really a risk versus reward thing. The other one I mentioned earlier, who I really like, is Curtis Samuel. I think that he's going to be overlooked. Just like I was saying about Sammy Watkins, he's going to be overlooked too. I already see his ADP is way lower than I think it should be because of Tyreek Hill. Everyone just thinks Mahomes is going to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill every time, and the preseason hasn't helped that theory at all because he has thrown the ball to him every time. But again, these guys, these especially when they get out there on the field, these defenders are going to be thinking Tyreek Hill, and when he goes right and one of the safeties and 2 of the cornerbacks follow him, there you go, Sammy Watkins down the left side of the field with a one-on-one coverage. It's just going to happen. It's like in basketball where everyone's looking at LeBron and he drives and kicks and there's 3 guys wide open on the perimeter because the entire 5 defenders are all trying to stop LeBron. So I kind of feel that way with Tyreek Hill. Don't get me wrong. I think Tyreek Hill is going to have a good season, but I think he's also going to bring on opportunities for other guys to succeed as well. So what else do I got here? I think that's about it. I didn't have much more in my notes here that I wanted to talk about today. I do like your stance on season long and waiting on the receivers. I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, that's what that's just where I don't know. I've been burnt so much by wide receivers that it just saddens me.
Well, and as you're playing, season long, you can kind of do this, but daily, it's more important. It's really important to look at the amount of snap count, the snaps that the receiver plays, as well as how many targets they're getting. You could have a really good receiver who is targeted very little the first few weeks of the season. What do you do with a guy like that? Do you try to trade him when his value's low? Do you, in daily, do you just not play him anymore after that? See, me, that's when I'm playing him the most. Say Julio Jones gets like under 5 targets in the first 2 games. You damn well know in week 3 I'm playing a whole bunch of Julio Jones. So it's one of those things you got to kind of look at and kind of figure some of that information out. And again, another thing, I'll end on this with daily. I often like to target the receivers that are playing against really good defenses, because the field in general is going to go the opposite direction of that. If Jacksonville's playing whatever team this week, the receivers are almost guaranteed to be under-owned. And it's one of those things. My style of play is very contrarian. I almost play no cash games in DFS. I'm pretty much a full-time GPP tournament player. So I'm always looking to exploit those. Exploit ownership and exploit situations where I think, is there a chance that this could happen? Then yes, then I'm gonna, I'll weigh my risk versus the reward in situations like that, and usually I'll play the guys who no one else is gonna play.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And if I locate this game, you're gonna flip out. I know both tight ends had over 25 points, and I know it was the Saints and the Falcons because it was unbelievable. Both tight ends had over 25 points.
You'll have to send it to me when you find it.
Yeah, I'll locate it when I'm upstairs, and I have time to do it. But no, it's daily. My problem with daily is, and I'll admit it, I get trapped into using players that a lot of people are using, and I fit them in. Like I just showed you my lineup, and it's totally opposite of what I just told you. Mm-hmm. For daily. I'd sit here and I'd tell you for season long my strategy, and all my teams are really looking good. And then I go and I switch it up for daily. I go and I pick, Odell Beckham, T.Y. Hilton, and freaking, another good wide receiver, A.J. Green or something like that. And then, I switch it up and settle for mediocre running backs, Carlos Hyde, even Royce Freeman's cheap right now. I settle for them guys. That's so I don't know, dude. When it comes to daily, I guess our next show, I'll have a better feel for it. And that's when it comes to daily, that's how I feel about it. I also hate daily because I changed my lineup so much, and I'm going to try staying away from that this year.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. I'm the type, I'm going to tinker with my lineups literally until the minute before lock is happening. I play a high volume, so in any given week I'm playing 100 to 150 different lineups, and the news is all flowing in and things are happening, and I'm a tinkerer. I like tinkering. I enjoy it. One of the big popular touts in our industry, Al Smizzle, he does what he calls his anti-tinker podcast. It starts about an hour before lock on Sunday mornings, and he invites everybody to come in and just sit and BS with him and not talk about starts and sits and all the stuff that they talked about throughout the week so that they don't tinker with their lineups. So, but I like it. I take a different approach. I enjoy the tinkering. Does it screw me sometimes? I'm sure it does. But has it helped me? And sometimes it actually has a few times where I've made some decisions that I've done a mass swap on a player in the last few minutes before the kickoff. And it's actually ended up winning me money. So, I enjoy it. I enjoy doing that. I don't advise it necessarily. I think you're right. I think your research throughout the week should bring you to a conclusion, and you should be comfortable with who you're playing before you even really sit down on Sunday morning to start working your lineups out. You should already have an idea of who you want to play. See me, I'm doing so many that I'm in there tweaking this, changing this percentage, checking how much of this player I've got, and then when news comes out, so and so is not playing because of this, and I've got him in 30 lineups. I got to run around and change all of it real quick right before lock. It gets a little wild Sunday mornings for me, but I enjoy it. That's kind of like the way I like to play. But your way is probably the right way. Don't tinker.
Yeah, and I mean, the only player right now that I'm in love with is Fournette, and I'm scared because even knowing that, I mean, I wish, I knew I had a better idea of what his usage was going to be.
I think it's going to go up now with Marquise Lee going down.
And David Johnson, he wasn't shown no love in my draft, man, and none of my drafts. I mean, he went like 6th or 7th. So I wonder if his usage is going to drop too.
I don't think so. I don't think they have. I mean, I know they have Fitzgerald, but I just don't think that team's any good. I think they're going to have to give him the ball.
I mean, if you're talking about, you talked about starting Odell Beckham because his usage is going to be low. Well, what happens if Johnson's usage is low?
Then if you're playing him, you should play him. You should if he's pegged at having a low ownership in week 1, you should absolutely be over on him. Yeah, definitely. So it sounds to me like Josh Rosen's not going to be starting at quarterback there. It sounds like Sam Bradford's going to be the man for right now. So, yay.
I don't know, man.
What are they going to do? It's Sam Bradford. He's not.
I'll have a better feel for this, next week. I mean, not next week. I'll have a better feel for this actually tomorrow, probably.
Yeah, I'm really starting my week 1 lineup building tomorrow.
And I already started last week.
Yeah. So I've done all my research. I just haven't actually built any lineups yet. So
yeah, and it all boils down to, you want to hit the guy with the low usage, and you want to have him stacked in your lineup.
Yeah, stacking is very important. We should actually talked about that in playing daily. If you think there's a receiver that's going to go off, chances are his quarterback's going to go off too. When I'm doing tournament lineups, I usually pick, 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes, I don't know, up to 8 to 10 quarterbacks. That's how I start. I limit it down. I start with those quarterbacks, and then I build stacks off of those quarterbacks. And when we say stack, what stacking is when you're adding a quarterback with a receiver, or a quarterback with 2 receivers, or quarterback with a tight end and a receiver, all from the same team. Because the thought is, if that quarterback's going to go off, he's going to be having to throw touchdowns to somebody. So you should have those receivers on your team as well, or those tight ends on your team. And if you look at a lot of the big prize pools and stuff, the winning lineups, and them almost always have a stack.
Yeah, I know. And the stack that looks real good. And of course, you get to watch Cleveland's defense on TV. So now I'm like, is their defense pretty good? I mean, come on.
I don't know, man. It sure does look like it. I can't speak for the Browns.
Dude. The stack is Roethlisberger, Bell, and fucking Brown.
Yeah, maybe. But here's the thing. Bell hasn't been there. He hasn't been there. He practiced preseason, nothing. He's going to show up game 1 in his pads. Well,
I'm trying to find a stack because the stack I have right now is Kansas City.
I tell you, it's going to be Russell Wilson.
No.
Tyler Lockett and Nick Vanette.
Dude, and the rest of your players are superstars.
Well, that's it, and that's exactly how you build a lineup like that. You have a set group of core players that you're going to play, and you make that Tyler Lockett, Nick Vanette, and Russell Wilson. Then you have a whole bunch of money left over to play Julio, to play Bell, to play David Johnson, to play all those guys. You can basically, like you said, you could fill the rest of your lineup with superstars and hope they hit. So I just hope that Seattle game just shoots out, So
yeah, I would imagine the rest of your team would be literally superstars.
I'm actually going to build a couple of those now that we said that. I have to.
You're going to go in there tonight and look at it.
I am.
I know you are. Let's talk about something that for daily, a tool that you can use, just something that gives you and shows you some trends and it gives you some tags. And I guess what we can do is, if you come to our Discord, I'll post the link in the Draft Daily channel. This site will help everybody in fantasy sports out because it kind of gives you the biggest problem I have, like I said, is ownership percentages. Just projecting, you don't want the guys with the high ownership percentages unless you really know they're going to nut off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you look at a matchup and you're like, oh my God, Julio Jones, against Tampa Bay, he's going to go nuts. So, but that's about all I have, man. I can't wait to do our next show, and we'll do tight ends and kickers, and we'll have a better feel for it by then.
I'm just ready for the season to start. I'm tired of talking about it and speculating. I'm ready to see some real football. This fourth week of preseason always kills me because there's no starters, and it's just then we got a week off, so it's like, or no, we don't. We start Thursday, right? Next Thursday, week from today. Kick off. Nice.
Yeah. Now sometimes I play in the Thursday game, and I don't even pick Thursday players.
That's good. That's actually a good thing, because if that game is super low scoring and you have a late swap, you can go in and just swap, change your whole lineup around, and you're the guy. Here's the thing: a lot of people will play slates with the Thursday night game involved because they want to watch and root in the Thursday night game. So inevitably, even if it's a terrible game,
on the field,
they're going to play guys in that Thursday night game. And as we've seen the last few years, these Thursday night games have not been pretty. The players don't like them. They're sloppy. There's turnovers.
Are they in England or London or something?
I don't know. I don't think the start. Are they doing that again this year? I know they started that week 4 last year, where they started doing the London games.
Yeah, I don't know. So all right. Well, you got anything else?
No, I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about. So
okay, cool. Well, don't forget to visit draftdaily.com. If you want to buy some fantasy gold, which powers draftdaily.com, you can do so at Coin Exchange and on draftdaily.com also. I would like to let everybody know we have approval to be on Cryptopia, so we will be on a new exchange soon, and that's big news, good news. And maybe we can repeat the last time we were on Cryptopia. What happened? We went 1,000 times up value Super Bowl Sunday. that would be
a fun month.
Yeah. So maybe we can go to $100 a coin.
That would be nice.
That would be beautiful. From 10 cents to $100.
That would be very nice.
We went from 10 cents to $1. I don't know.
Yeah, even that's nice. Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'll see you tomorrow in the next show.
All right. Sounds good.
And,
take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.